Something I want you to think about today is the question of what would my life look like if I realized that there are no problems and every single thing that I'm experiencing is working out in my favor? What would shift from you? How would you start making decisions? Would you have a deeper sense of trust in your abilities and a deeper sense of trust in all of the shifts and changes that are taking place in your life? What could you gain, and how much more expansive could your life be if you shifted out of this lens of things aren't working out, I have all these problems, into actually everything is always working out for me, everything is in my favor? I want to talk to you about this today because it's something that I contemplate all the time in my life, where I think about things that didn't work out for me or situations that were really challenging or difficult. And then when you get to the other side, you realize all of the gifts and benefits that came from those circumstances. And this is something that I talk to my clients about, and it's something that I'm constantly in the practice of, is rewiring our mind around the difficulties in our life, because every single thing that we're experiencing has value. There's a gift or a little nugget of wisdom that can be gleaned from that. But very often when we're in the thick of these experiences, especially when they're really difficult or challenging, whether it's job loss or the end of a relationship or your whole life just seems like nothing is working out, we start to question everything. We question ourselves, we question the people that are around us, we question our path, and we don't realize that everything that we're experiencing is guiding us on the path that we're on, or it's redirecting us back onto the path that we might have strayed from based off of previous choices that we've made. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an example from my life to help illustrate what it is I'm talking about. So this was several years ago. It was probably I think it was 2017. And I was working as a waitress. I was working at a restaurant in downtown LA in the Arts District. And I had just recently turned 30 years old and was just feeling so frustrated. So frustrated, because I distinctly remember being 25 years old. I was still living in New York City. And I told myself that I would not still be waiting tables by the time I was 30. And I feel like I said something along the lines of, if I'm still waiting tables when I'm in my 30s, I'm going to just end it, which is a very macabre thing to say, but that was how I felt, because at that point I had been waiting tables for about 10 years. And I was still like coming up in my career. I was at my career as an actress. I was doing lots of commercials and modeling, and I had done lots of co-stars and guest star roles and things like that. So, in the grand scheme of things, I had had a lot of really amazing success, especially in comparison to the vast majority of actors. And I got an audition for NCIS LA. And when I got the audition, I remember I was with my partner at the time. We were having lunch at one of my favorite restaurants in Larchmont Village. And the audition came through, and it was for a one-day, one-episode guest star role on NCIS LA. And I remember getting that audition and just feeling pissed. I was bitter, I was pissed, I was irritable. And the reason why is because, I had done so many one-day guest stars. I had done so many guest star roles, like small little guest stars and co-stars and things like that. And I just wasn't getting the elevation in my career. I wasn't getting to that next level. And I was so frustrated. And I was just like, why did my agent even send me this? I've done so many one-day guest stars. I don't want to do this anymore. Where are the series regular jobs? Where are the recurring guest star jobs? Where are the jobs that are going to actually make a difference in my life? Because doing a one-day guest star, while it's amazing to do those jobs and you get like a good paycheck, it's just a one-off job, and then you're back in the rat race again. And your girl was tired, okay? I was tired of going to that restaurant and serving people for 7-8 hours and relying on tips and all of the things. I was over it. And I remember my partner at the time, he's so sweet. He was just like, babe, this is a great opportunity. It's like, you don't have to take the job, but this is an opportunity for you to audition. You haven't, things have been kind of slow. It was the beginning of the summer. He's like, things have been kind of slow for you right now. And now you have an audition. And so just play the character, just work on the sides, go in, do the audition, don't worry about any outcomes. This isn't about you getting the job. If they offer it to you, you don't have to take it. Just go and have fun with it. Just have fun. And I was just like, oh, of course he was right. And I was like a little annoyed that he was right, but I decided to take his advice. And so I prepared the audition, and thankfully at that point I had done a number of procedural shows before. I had done Criminal Minds, I had done NCIS, I had done Rizzoli and Isles, I had done Law and Order SVU. So I know how to book a procedural. So I had no fears or lack of confidence going into that audition. I still remember exactly what I wore. I was feeling good, drove onto the Paramount lot, went to the casting office and signed in. And I remember I walked in and there were like all these young Asian women sitting in, they were wearing suits. And I was like, I'm definitely not auditioning for that role. I was dressed in like this beautiful jumpsuit and gorgeous makeup because the character that I was going in for was nightclub manager. She didn't even have a name. It was just nightclub manager. And I looked really good. I was wearing this gorgeous, like slate bluish gray jumpsuit, big hoop earrings, you know, the whole nine. Went in to do my audition, killed the audition. And when I finished auditioning, and oh, one thing I forgot to say was that the audition was for the producers of NCIS LA. And so I got to go straight to the producers for it, which is one of the reasons why I was a little frustrated, because I was like, oh my God, they're only going to be seeing me for this one day guest star. And so that was a little bit of a bummer, but I was auditioning for the producers, and when I was done, one of the producers leaned over to the casting director and like said something to him. And I just waited patiently for them to finish their little chit chat. And then the casting director said, hey, so the producers want you to read for this other role. And the role was for Special Agent Harley Hidoko. And I don't, like, for those of you who know me, who know my career, you know where I'm going with this. So they wanted me to read for the role of Special Agent Harley Hidoko. And so, of course, I said yes. And this is very common for these things to happen, where you go in for one role, but then the casting director or the producer or the director thinks that you might be a good fit for a different role. And so I went out into the hallway, I read my sides, and sides, for those of you who are in the industry, sides are basically it's like the little excerpt from the script. So they'll give you like one scene or two scenes or three scenes from the script, and then you basically audition from those short scenes. And so I took my sides, and I think it was like two or three scenes, went out into the hall. I immediately called my manager and said, hey, they want me to read for this role. Do you have a breakdown of the character, which is the description of the character? I want to know a little bit more about her so I can understand, you know, who she is before I go in and read. And so within like 5 to 10 minutes, he sent me the audition or the breakdown of the character. I looked over it, read the script, and when I was ready, I went back into the room, did the audition, felt really great about it. And then later on that day, my manager called me and said that they loved me and they want to bring me back for another audition the following week. So I think this was maybe a Thursday or Friday when I had this audition, and they wanted to bring me back on Monday. And so I was just like, oh my God, they want to bring me back. And what I didn't say before was this role of a special agent is a recurring guest star role. She was slated to do 6 episodes. And so I was like, oh my God, I went in for a one-day guest star audition, and I ended up getting seen for a recurring role that I now have a callback for. And so I worked on the audition the whole weekend. My boyfriend at the time helped me work on it. I went and bought like a new suit. Like I found like my perfect black pump heels, and I went into the audition that following Monday and killed it. Didn't think that I killed it because I was so nervous, but I think it was that night or the next night, I got the call that I got the role. And so I ended up doing the show. And just like I said, when I was talking about going in for the audition, the role was originally written for an Asian woman. Her name is Harley Hidoko. She's a Japanese woman, which is why all the women that I saw in the waiting room that day were all Asian women. But they saw me, or really the showrunner of the show saw me and immediately envisioned me as the character. And so I got the role. They didn't change the character's name. They just gave her a slightly different backstory to justify her having a Japanese last name. And rather than doing 6 episodes of that show, which is what the character was originally slated for, they loved me so much, I ended up doing the entire season of the show. I did 21 episodes of that show, which completely changed my life. I was able to quit my job at that restaurant that I was working at, and I'm still making money off of NCIS LA, which I did. I started that show 8 years ago, and I'm still getting residual checks of thousands of dollars from that show. That show, when I left after that first season, I didn't work very much for a couple of years after that before I booked Run the World, but that show and the residuals paid my bills. I mean, I got like, I had some other income coming in from other things that I did, but NCIS LA was my number one source of income for over 2 years before I booked Run the World. And so the reason why I'm telling you this story and why I talk about what if there are no problems? What if everything is always working out in your favor? This story is a perfect example of how quickly things can shift for you when you just lean into what life is handing you and trust that you are being carried on your path. I didn't have that skill set at that time. I didn't have the knowledge and awareness that I'm sharing with you in this video, but that experience was the perfect example for what it is that I'm talking about, because when I got that audition, I was upset, I was bitter about it, I was really frustrated, I was ungrateful, and I had no concept of what this experience was actually preparing me for. I just thought, well, here's another one-day guest star. Oh, this is so annoying. And what ended up happening was that show changed, or that audition that I got, and me saying yes to it, me trusting, me listening to my sweet partner who knew how to get me out of that, crazy emotional state and help me see the bigger picture, is what shifted the entire trajectory of my life. There were no problems in that moment. I was being divinely guided into something really, really amazing for myself. And so, the hindsight, yes, I have the hindsight now because I've gone through the experience. But what I have learned since then is when something is coming up in my life where I'm going through something really difficult, staying grounded in the understanding, the knowing, and the trust that even though this is really hard right now, even though I don't understand what's happening right now, even though this is pissing me the hell off right now, I know that there's something on the other side of this that is meant for me, that is going to elevate me, that's going to teach me something amazing, that's going to give me insight and wisdom that I didn't have before this experience. And that's what I mean when I say, what if you didn't have any problems? What if everything is always working out in your favor? Because if I hadn't had the support of my partner and the willingness to just, okay, even though I don't like this, I'm gonna just see what happens. I'm gonna just lean into this. Who knows what would have happened to me? I might have gone another several months working in that restaurant. I might have not booked another great job for a really, really long time because I didn't have the openness and the awareness to lean into something that was showing up for me. And so I want to just share with you and remind you that even though you don't understand why what's happening in your life is happening, there's a reason why it's happening, and everything is always working out in your highest and best good. But can you lean into the trust? Can you lean into the surrender? Can you lean into the knowing that there's magic and wisdom and knowledge and elevation that's available for you in this experience? No, I'm not saying to say yes to every single thing that comes your way, or that you're not allowed to say, actually, the situation isn't right for me, or I'm going to pivot. I'm not saying that. I'm just talking about overall remembering that when you're going through something difficult, asking yourself or reminding yourself, is this a problem, or is this me not seeing the bigger picture? Is this me not giving myself a chance to be surprised by life, to be surprised by the divine, to see what the magic is in this experience and just allow myself to be carried through it? I've talked in recent videos about, when I was fired from Run the World and how I've gone through periods of just feeling depressed and like what is happening in my life, and I'm not making as much money as I was, and needing to pivot and really questioning myself, and having those moments where I haven't been in that trust. But where I am right now in this moment of leaning into showing up for myself and being more devoted to my practices and my content, and like all of the the shifts that are happening in my business of creating even better offers and calling in more aligned clients and finding community. None of these things would be part of my experience right now had I not been carried through some of the difficulties and the challenges that I've been through for these last few years. And it's been such a beautiful reminder for me that there's so much wisdom and there's so many gifts in those difficulties and those challenges. And if you can remind yourself that even though this is really hard, it's not a problem. Even though this kind of sucks, or I don't know where this is leading or what I'm doing, I trust that I'm being guided. I trust that I'm being led in some way and in some capacity. And the way that I help my clients anchor into this is by reconnecting with the body, understanding your womb wisdom, which I have a previous video about this, how your womb is just the seat of your wisdom, and learning how to connect more deeply with the divine and the divinity that flows through your body so that you can get some of the answers that maybe you didn't have the ability to access at previous times. Like if I knew what I know now, then when I got that audition for NCIS LA, I would have checked in with my body rather than getting upset and frustrated. I would have just asked my body, is this the right thing for me to do? Should I do this audition? And I would have listened to the cues of my body, and I can pretty much guarantee that my body would have said yes to it. And checking in with my body, understanding all of the different ways that you're being divinely guided, the way that you're being led, being in connection with nature and being in connection with spirit and your guides, and trusting in all of the little pings of wisdom that are always around you are that's a really beautiful way for you to anchor into that trust in those moments where it feels like nothing around you is familiar or nothing around you makes sense. And so I just wanted to share this with you today. It's the topic that popped into my mind when I woke up this morning, and I hope that me sharing my story really illuminated some things for you if you're in a space right now where you feel like you're being dragged by your edges. You are not being dragged by your edges. You are being guided, and maybe it's your resistance to where you're being led and your resistance to where you're being guided that's creating what feels like a problem or feels like nothing is working out for you. But I guarantee that if you pause and reflect on all of your previous life experiences, even the most difficult and challenging things that you've been through, you will see all of the gems and all of the beautiful synchronicities that occurred, and you will see the sense and you will see the perfect design of what you experienced that brought you into this present moment. And so if you're struggling, listen to this message and take heed to what it is that I'm saying, that you don't have any problems. Everything is always working out in your favor. Even if you don't know it, you just come back into presence, come back into your body, understand and know from the deepest parts of your body that you are being divinely guided. You are being so led by all of the beings as well as the people in your life that are here to support your journey. If you want to go deeper into this work, if you're looking for some one-on-one assistance or one-on-one guidance, then you can book a session with me. I have spiritual alignment sessions as well as womb alchemy sessions. The link to all of my one-on-one offers are in the description box below. Let me know how this video landed for you in the comments. I appreciate all of your engagement. I'm so grateful for all of the people that have been showing up to tune into my daily videos. Let me know what other things you would like to hear me talk about, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening wherever you are in the world. I'm sending you so much love, and I'll see you tomorrow.